Tell us about your milk bottle collection.
Well, the way it started was I was in a coffee shop one morning and John Trury came in with a bottle, and he gave it to me. He said, "Here, you can have this." And this is the bottle that started me on this quest, which isn't complete yet. But I was curious. After I received this bottle, a few weeks later, I was at Rieta Ranch and I found another bottle of another Leominster dairy, never realizing how many Leominster dairies there were. So I kept finding these bottles in yard sales and flea markets, and all of a sudden I had a whole bunch of bottles, and they were all from different dairies, and it was fascinating. So I kept my collection of bottles growing, and one day I was here, and Brian was removing an old display that he had here in these cabinets, and he was lamenting about what he should put in there. And I told him, "Why don't you come to my house and take a look at my bottles, maybe we can do something." So he did, and he was surprised to see how many different dairies were represented in my collection. And he said, "You know what, that might be something we can do. Let me talk to the board of directors and see what they think about it." So he got back to me after a while and asked me to bring the bottles in, and we started setting this up. Then everyone got involved, and then we started finding the history of all these people in Leominster who had these dairies and were delivering milk door to door. And it became very, very interesting. So now we have this display of not only bottles, but of the people in Leominster and what they did. And this is part of it. As you know, we have people in Leominster who are involved in many different facets of industry, cones and pianos and plastic industry. But we also had these people that were delivering milk at 4 o'clock in the morning. And when it was 20 degrees below zero, they delivered the milk. And we didn't go to the stores to buy our milk. Most of it was delivered door to door. And these people worked hard. And it all started in the late 1800s and progressed up through the 40s and 50s and into the 1960s and 70s. They were still doing it. We still had Harper's that a lot of people remember, and Churries, and delivering milk. I think Harper was the last person to actually deliver milk door to door in the 1980s. I don't know the exact year that they stopped delivering. So it's an interesting part of history. So it's not just milk bottles anymore. It's milk bottles and people. And I'm still working on it. There's still more to find out and more bottles out there that I've heard about that I haven't found yet. It's a lot of fun.
What are some of your favorite milk bottles that you've collected?
Well, I like the early ones, like here's a milk bottle, 1890s, and has a metal stopper that you opened up and poured the milk out. And when you were done, you returned the bottle and it was sterilized and refilled for the next day. But the state of Massachusetts wasn't happy with all this metal because it was very hard to sterilize, to get every nook and cranny. So they stopped using those bottles with that metal cap, and they came out with cardboard throwaway. So now you open the bottle and dump the milk out and threw the cap away when you were done. Now all you had was one piece of glass, much easier to sterilize and much more positive, clean job. And they liked that, so that's where it stayed for many, many years. I actually had a gentleman in Leominster that made those cardboard caps. So then it went down through the 50s, and then they got fancy and they decorated their bottles with different colors. And that was nice. The bottles are pretty now, you know, they're decorated. Now, besides door to door, you can also go to the store and you can buy bottles of milk in a store. But the state of Massachusetts wanted these bottles to be marked store bottle. I don't know if can you see that? So these are store bottles. This is from Newton's Dairy. And these were the bottles that they delivered to the stores. And they were separate bottles. They were different than the bottles they used for the door-to-door delivery. I don't know what the reasoning was behind it, but that's the way it was.
And I understand there were special bottles for restaurants and diners.
Yeah, they also had, in the restaurants, they had these tiny little miniature milk bottles. And these were used for table service when you ordered coffee or tea. They would bring it to your table with a bunch of these little creamers, with again with a cardboard cap. Totally recyclable. They were returned to the dairy, washed and refilled. So what was nice about it was we weren't filling the dump up with plastic, you know? Okay.
So,
What about your, the bottle that you were holding up at the very beginning? That was your first bottle that you collected? Can I zoom in on that a little bit? The one you put over there?
This one?
Yeah, that's the first one you collected? Talk about that one. What got you involved in that one?
This was the first bottle that was given to me by John Cherry about 20 years ago. And that's what got me started. It's a beautiful bottle. It has a lot of graphics on it. It's very popular with the collectors. This is a store bottle. Right up here, I don't know if you can see it. It says store.
Just hold it up a couple seconds. How's that?
Heavily decorated.
it's
Jewelry.
beautiful. It has a little milkmaid on the back, doesn't it?
Yeah. This bottle has a date on it, 1951. Yeah, this is a very nice picture. And you can see the whole story here. He's delivering milk in a wagon, horse-drawn wagon. And you can see the milk bottles down here. And you can also see a tin metal container that was used in a pitcher. And over here you can see a cow and there's a young man holding a bucket. So this tells a little story right there. This 2-gallon container in the pitcher was used because some woman wanted their milk in bulk, and he would pour it out into a pitcher and fill their container at their home instead of giving them a bottle. So that's the way it was. This was around probably 1906 when this picture was taken. But what's interesting about Deschanel is he gave up delivering milk and he started making potato chips in his house, and then he expanded and it became Try Some Potato Chip Company. which they're still selling today. You can still try some potato chips. So that's a really interesting part of Leominster history right there.
Yeah, pretty good. Tell us about that one, Will.
Now here's a photograph taken in 1915 at the E.H. Boutel bottling plant. They had a highly automated operation, and you can see the milk bottles right here that have been cleaned and sterilized. And they're going through the filling station, and they're being filled automatically.
So the milk was transported from the farm to the Boutel to
Right.
do the bottling in large containers, I assume?
Right. So they did have automation way back in 1950. There's 2 containers that were used also in door-to-door bulk milk delivery. So you had your own container at your house, and the milkman would fill your container from his containers. It was done that way in the early days until the state got involved again, and because people were complaining about accurate measure, there was no way really to get a really accurate measure with these type of containers. So they came out with the mass seal. So now the bottles are certified. When you buy a pint, that's certified, it's a pint. You're not getting less or more. So I don't know if you can see the mass seal on there,
Yeah,
right here.
right about dead center. Yeah, I guess we can see that.
So it was a change, you know, because also sanitary concerns from those containers, you know.
Regulation seems to have made a lot of changes to the milk industry in the early 1900s.
Right. So we progressed up into the 50s, and there's Richards and Crescent Farm and Valley's, Fry's Dairy.
I heard about Fry's here. Didn't they have? Was that the same? Didn't they have like a downtown Leominster store where they sold like ice cream and stuff like that? Was that the same Fry's?
They had a store on Central Street. And Newton's Dairy had an ice cream stand. They made their own ice cream. They were on Manchester Street.
It has a gear going this way and a gear going this way so that you can use the handle so that it mixes around,
Right.
but you can turn it this way so it has the meshing gears.
And this dairy's downtown Leominster. They didn't have cows running around down here. They had bottling plants. That's what they did their bottling, or that's what they sold their milk. They might have had a store where they sold their milk. There was a few on French Hill. There was a few on Pleasant Street. What a lot of these people did, they bought bulk milk from a big dairy farm, like at the Belly, and they would bring the milk in large jugs to their plant, and they would bottle it. They didn't have their own cows. So,
Did any of our milk get exported to other cities?
oh yeah, some of the big dairies would sell their extra milk to like Hood in Boston. Hood would buy milk from everybody. They didn't have a dairy farm, so they had to buy milk from all around.
Interesting.
Tell us what's going on with that photograph to the left of that.
This one?
Yes.
All right, he has a pretty fancy delivery truck there. That's the Sunny Ledge Farm. They were in North Leominster, and it's Henry LaRue. And his telephone number is 1713. And that's back in the 1930s. And he's showing off his truck, I guess. Very nice photograph.
And he's an accredited hero,
Mhm.
according to the sign on his.
Yeah, and he has a license for raw milk. So if you sold raw milk unprocessed, you have to have a special license. And some people wanted their milk that way. You could also buy your milk unhomogenized so that the cream would rise to the top, and you could scoop it out and use it for your dessert. So there was a lot going on. It was an interesting process.
Bottom cap bottles, so that's the old way they used to carry them in the houses, I believe.
Yes.
I remember when I was a kid.
That's right.
When we were a kid back in the 60s,
Yeah.
I can remember us getting milk from those type of bottles.
That's right. He would fill these from the truck and walk up the steps to your front door or side door, and this was what he carried to deliver the milk. If he were at home, he had a box, an insulated box that he would supply. You know, on your doorstep. Here's a box right here that's insulated. Put the bottles in there. It would keep them cool till the homeowner took them inside, put them in the ice box. So then we progressed from glass to paper. There's some paper containers that we used in place of glass.
What date would you say for,
This is in the 50s. Yeah.
and are those Leominster as well?
Hmm?
Are they Leominster as well?
No, they're just examples
Yeah.
of the container. They're
Yeah.
not necessarily Leominster. Here's a quart container right here. And they were throwaway. These were not returned. They were thrown away. That's when we started our throwaway society. And then we progressed to today. We have the plastic milk bottle. So like I said, it's still ongoing. We're still looking for variations of these bottles, because there are many. One dairy could have as many as 8 to 10 different style and size bottles that they use. So if you're collecting bottles and you want to get a full collection of every bottle style and size that that dairy had, you can do that.
So collecting can be a complex and ongoing
That's right.
process.
It's still ongoing because,
That top photograph that you're pointing at, isn't that Guy Harvey's farm or something like
yes,
that?
this guy P. Harvey.
Reason why I know that is because I have in our retail folder, I have a lot of that particular photograph, and it looked awful familiar.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the cows and the farms on the tops of the hills,
Yeah.
and how much effort must have been to transport that down into town,
Sure.
along our huge hills and over streams and brooks, and
Yeah.
it must have been complicated,
Gravel roads. Yeah.
or snow.
Yeah. So the bottles would get lost and broken or not returned. So they were constantly ordering new bottles. They had to buy new bottles. And every time they got a new bottle, the style was a little bit different. So that adds to the complexity of the hobby of collecting these bottles. You don't know really how many variations there are out there until you actually find one there aren't too many there's no reference books like that for Leominster dairies, where you could reference different style of bottles. No one's done that. So no one knows how many are out there. Okay, this is a model. So it's a scale model. Pretty neat. The Appleseed Farm. That's actually a fantasy farm. Like Johnny Appleseed.